courtesy of the OlimoLeague. We're in the round of 8. And someone was asking, are there any Protoss left at this point? Yes, Ryung faces off against Alicia in the very bottom half of the bracket, but it's looking like it's pretty much Zergs and Terrans aside of that. We've had quite a few TVTs, quite a few ZVZs be the finals for these Legacy Beta tournaments so far, and we'll see what this week brings. It's the second ever Legacy of the OlimoLeague. Spawning in the top left corner of the map, it's going to be none other than the red Terran player, Miso.
The top right says the blue Zerg. It's the player Impact.
Miso's actually, I think, taken part in every Legacy tournament so far. I know he's been playing Deserts Cups, I know he's been playing OlimoLeague, and I know he played the first OlimoLeague. He's not the best player out there right now, but he is the most consistent, I think.
Sure, yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, not the best, which is kind of unfortunate, as he is putting a lot of time into it, but I guess he is still also kind of, you know, splitting his time between this and Heart of the Swarm.
You know what? Hang on, let's just finish that, because he didn't win OlimoLeague. You know, it was the Zergs over there, Bly and Nurchio. The Nurchio won Deserts Cup, but I'm totally... It was Miso who won last week, wasn't it? Didn't he? He won the Legacy of the OlimoLeague last week, right?
Did he?
Can you Google that, since I got the cameras and stuff?
Okay.
I mean,
okay,
he has not won the other tournaments, that's for sure. But I think he won the first week of this, actually. Unless I'm totally off base. Fingers are crossed, because now I'm starting to doubt myself.
Here we go. Gotta go to the signups. Oh no, we did. It was that's what it was against Kelazur.
Oh, okay, nailed it. Okay, anyways, my point for this was, though, that Impact was also in the finals of the beta tournament before the beta came out. I know it's weird to say, but I guess for those who might be out of the loop, Jack Attack, wonderful guy. He made this custom Legacy of the Void mod for StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm, a custom game you could play in the arcade that just basically mimicked everything in the beta.
Well, yeah, I tried to, and it did a pretty decent job. He's continuing to update it as well. For all of you who do not have Legacy of the Void keys, you can try and play it. It might not be exactly the same, but it's getting pretty darn close.
I'm actually really glad he's doing that too, because I remember there was concerns he would have to take it down once the official beta went out. But I guess Blizzard was cool and was like, well, we can't get everyone beta keys at once, so maybe keep doing what you're doing. Fight the good fight.
Yeah, I certainly like that. But it still, you know, holds, even though the Miso won the last tournament, it was I gotta say it was a weaker bracket, just in terms of, you know, familiar names.
Of all tournaments in Legacy of the Void so far, this is without question the sickest bracket so far.
Right.
And I'm not just talking because Korea, it's like because good foreigners signed up too.
It just, you know, it's hard to say that because there are some situations where being the better HOTS player does not mean you're the better Legacy of the Void player.
Well, that's true, yeah. All the Protoss players know that feeling right now.
Well, exactly, right? Even though Huck showed actually pretty great games against Miso before we went on the Kelazur, it's still the case, though, you know, like, this is going to be entirely different. Miso, I mean, he might throw out some Legacy of the Void stuff, but he's going to have to really rely a lot on his mechanics, because I know Impact is really great TVZ in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, there are definitely aspects like that that are going to transfer over, or translate over, pardon me, very smoothly, I guess is a good way to phrase it. It's just, it's really hard to say somebody who is this good at Heart of the Swarm like Impact is going to be anything close to terrible when it comes to Legacy of the Void. And again, going back, referencing the Total Biscuits tournament, he's not exactly inexperienced when it comes to this. Now, for Miso's sake, I am curious what he plans to do. We got a tank on the way, but it's not exactly a fast starport follow-up. It's more Raxes, so a bit of bio to complement this. He's still not mining on his natural base. Lirlac Crest is a map that has two very distinct openings into your natural until you knock down the rocks back here. And the spawn locations don't really favor him in turtling this base up.
No, this is kind of an unfortunate situation, but a really good play by Impact.
Yeah.
To, I mean, get this already started so well for him. He's going to follow up into Roaches, maybe going to make some Ravagers as the game goes on. We'll see. But I do remember that Miso, he plays with tanks. So I'm still not entirely convinced that tanks are so much better that you're going to be using them as your main splash damage, like it's back to 50.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of players very distinctly cut out Widow Mines, whether it's on purpose or by accident, but very much so forego Widow Mines in the matchup. I think, though, the tanks, it's the appeal is there. I think a lot of Terran players, it's been their dream to use, like, this sounds silly, right? But it's been your dream to use tanks for so long, but they've been so ineffective, and there's just no way to fix them, other than, I guess, this medevac change, which, the mobility it provides those tanks, the ability to not just lose them for nothing anymore, It's really added a lot to their dynamic, and oh my god, that Overload's gonna get away.
But even though it's added a lot, I still don't... Either people aren't playing with them correctly. I'll always go back to Bombers. He's the only one who can still do it. Or they're still just not that great against mutas. If mutas come out into play, they still get sniped, even though they have Minivacs to potentially save them. But, you know, Miso definitely a guy that I would say did not impress me that much with his tank play. I think he played versus Ultras once, and he barely went out because, like, Cyclone tank mixture just ended up winning out. But that was a very back-and-forth game. But otherwise... not too impressed with it. We do have Ravagers, though. Cool that he made that. Gets 200, I mean 300 minerals, really.
I know. Those deepest that's so fast, there's no chance to cancel, right? Ravagers have incredibly fast attack speed on top of the Corrosive Bile. Again, the 0.5 per second attack speed is what saves the Hydra.
Could you lift that?
Yeah, 60 damage a shot from the Bile as well, so you can't just ignore, like, the CC needs to be repaired. But again, the Ravagers don't have a lot of health. Breaking this with a tank unsieged is totally viable. Sieging it up might just end up making it worse because you can't move it. Oh, dodges the Corrosive Bile shots. Tank is going to go down pretty quick, but look at the damage done. Takes out two of the Ravager, or one of the Ravagers, takes out the Roaches, and dodges this Corrosive Bile. So Miso, he's feeling the burn. This isn't horrible just yet.
Okay, everything's okay. Just saw those STVs stack up for a minute. I was like, no.
Yeah. Corrosive Bile does not have a lot of splash attached to it, folks, but it does have enough that you could have one-shot those SCVs if it landed at that perfect time.
Yeah. Plus, its cooldown I think is pretty medium. It's not quick. It's not super slow.
I think Corrosive Bile, like the problem with the Ravager is not the Corrosive Bile. I think the actual damage and the cooldown and the attack speed and the time it takes to fall, like it's all actually pretty good. It's just its native attack, its auto attack is so ridiculous.
Oh, well, I was gonna say it's derpy. It doesn't have the the visual or audio effects that something like that should have.
Well, okay, I'll agree with you on that. I just meant in terms of balancing the damage you put out. But okay, takes out the Ravager immediately upon hatch. We got some Marauders out. You guys might be noticing they're using both hands to shoot. Marauders in Legacy of the Void, they do have 2 attacks instead of 1. But that's not a buff. That's actually a huge nerf. But he will ultimately hold this. One of mine's on the ground too, so if he gets really hairy, backs up into it. But Marauders be kiting around very nicely, and Miso stays in the game.
He does, but he doesn't have any walls yet, and that's a little bit worrying. Not that they're going into Lings anymore, but the Roaches can get it right up there, which, you know, when you have a wall, I mean, that's a line of defense. So break down these rocks, finish the wall on the other side.
I mean, just breaking down the wall, though, it's good and bad. On one hand, you can defend yourself in a little bit better, but it's also a closer attack path. So if Miso does plan to be really aggressive, constantly rally out units, then maybe not breaking it down makes some sense. But oh man, he's going to have to deal with Ravagers plus a ton of Lings coming up behind this. This could actually go really poorly for him. Gotta get out of the Corrosive Bile. Medevac almost eats the tail end of that. There's a lot of Marauders coming. That's great, but it's the Lings he's going to have to deal with. The Marauders are not so great against them.
Yeah, and he did just completely forgo Splash, you know, just gave up on the tanks entirely.
Like, hey, what am I?
Yeah, exactly. What am I? They did get a really nice shot, but isn't going to be the savior that it really needs to be. I mean, pure bio, it just, it can be good.
No. This isn't done. Still going to be a hole in it.
Yep.
This is looking bad for me, so an Impact might just be able to capitalize on some very, classic mistakes and go like running legs into a Ravager. What? Oh, that one of my shot was so good. But Ling's gonna break down this front wall. The Bio's gonna try and come in from the backside. It's probably less smart than getting on top of the depots. Takes out the Roaches because those are the things he's really gonna be able to just abuse here. Ling's running around aren't really that scary yet. Upgrades not put into them. +1 on the way. But man, Miso is all over the place trying to deal with this attack.
Well, look at the supplies right now. Now, it is a bit inflated because Roaches, right? But, I mean, it's still pretty sizable, and the army's probably up by 40.
Hey, Impact, I think you missed a little bit.
You do whatever you want.
I'll just go this general direction. Creep's pretty good, right?
Yeah. I mean, sticking on Roaches at one point was, you know, a bad move, but to Ravagers add just a little bit of a punch to make it sort of good. You do still want to transition into something, you know, more tier 2 than tier 1.5, 1.75-ish.
Well, or you just go to straight making your Lings tier 3 with the new Adrenal Glands. We got Infestation Pit on the way, and probably... Well, you know what? We might not even see Hive Tech come out right away. With the range upgrades, he may invest in some Swarm Hosts, may not, we'll see. But we've also recently learned that Lurkers, as a turn out, pretty good versus Bio, and I would love to see Impact make some of those.
Yeah, but they're very expensive, and they take a bit of time to make. You know, the Hydra's are done, so you gotta make a Lurker Dan, get the upgrades. They're going to be so awesome, but they're just not finding that that really like good point to make them.
Miso, can you just make a wall, man? Like, I'm begging you.
A wall and a sensor tower would have gone a long way in this game.
I mean, the sensor tower, I think, would be a luxury, if anything, but still, just the wall to stop the Lings from getting in. We do have a small attempt at a counterattack. He knows he needs to deal some damage rather than play defensive all game. Doesn't quite lose the CC, but the corrosive bile and the... it's not so good at chasing so much as it is kiting, and that corrosive bile did some really good damage to me. So Marauders, dodges that one just barely. He's got to move again. Taking some damage on the backside. Marine's going down. Marauders, lots of damage. Can deal with these Ravagers once they get on top of them. Roaches finally been thinned out so he can do just that. But Hydra's dead on the way. Hive on the way, and that counterattack killed a couple of drones, but really nothing too significant. Not to the 44 workers that Impact's killed. Miso down to 20 SCVs.
No?
He's just gonna tap out.
I was just thinking. We brought up lurkers, right? And I was like, well, Impact's basically like the one guy that was really in Brood